Such insignificant creatures. They dare steal from Galactus. For that, I will destroy their planet.
How's it going, everybody? It's Warren, and welcome back to my channel, The Cosmic Wonder, where we talk about all things Marvel and everything relating to the MCU. Official news, leaks, rumors, reports, anything about Marvel we talk about right here. And today, Mikey Sutton has officially launched his new website, geekositymag.com. And to celebrate, he is dropping 2 new scoops of what he's heard in the rumor mill at Marvel Studios. And they are very, very exciting. One concerning the big, bad, planet-devouring Galactus, and the other, the Midnight Suns, a group that a lot of MCU fans have been waiting to see show up in the MCU for a pretty long time now, and especially since Marvel Studios has announced Blade is on its way. So we'll break it all down, but first, if you're new, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any MCU news, and so you can enter this week's giveaway for a chance to win a Doctor Strange Funko Pop. All you have to do to enter is subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment down below. So to kick it off, we're going to start with Galactus. He is not a villain, he is merely hungry, a cosmic god with an appetite for planets. In the MCU, Galactus will finally be shown in his Jack Kirby glory, a regal, ethereal figure. He is also morally gray. One would rather consume uninhabited planets to feed on unless, of course, there is no alternative at the moment. Sure enough, Galactus will destroy worlds with billions of lives, striking terror throughout space. And according to what Mikey has heard currently, the plan is to not have Galactus be the big bad until the 3rd Fantastic Four movie. Until then, he will be teased and built up. When Galactus appears, he will have the Silver Surfer with him, but temporarily. Temporarily because, spoiler alert, the Surfer will betray him, only to have Johnny Storm's girlfriend, Frankie Ray, take his place. There's no script or filmmakers attached yet, but the game plan is being outlined. Fantastic Four 3 is just the beginning for Galactus, as he will take an even larger role in Secret Wars. So let's talk about this for a second before we get into the Midnight Suns, because I have done plenty of videos on Galactus in the past. In fact, I've done one this week. Everybody wants to know what's up with Galactus. Everybody wants to know when he will be coming, and of course we all assume that he would be attached to the Fantastic Four. But if Marvel is planning on introducing Frankie Ray, that could make for a very interesting story and a very interesting build-up of Galactus. For starters, if you don't know who Frankie Ray is, she is another version of the Human Torch. And she's also, as mentioned, Johnny Storm's girlfriend. Frankie gets her powers from an accident. Her dad is actually the person who created the first Human Torch, which was an android. Frankie got her powers through an accident which involved Horton cells breaking all over her body, dousing her and bursting her into flames. But she survived and found out that she had the power to burst into flames anytime she wanted to, and could even control nearby fires. Now, her dad didn't want people to know about her, so he hypnotized her and made her forget about her powers. He also put on her a suit that suppressed her powers, but he also hypnotized her to where she couldn't see it. Now, eventually, her subconscious would attract her to Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. And Mr. Fantastic quickly found out that she was hypnotized, and he also discovered her suit. So he undid the hypnosis, and the Fantastic Four agreed to let her join the Fantastic Four as a second Human Torch. However, this was short-lived. However, this would soon be interrupted by Galactus. Despite Galactus making an oath to spare Earth, he had to come back to Earth because he was desperate. But in order to save the planet, Frankie made a deal with him to become his herald. And that was the end of Frankie with the Fantastic Four. Now, the interesting part about this story is that Galactus has come to Earth, made an oath not to consume Earth, goes away, but comes back again. And this is something that we very well could see happen in the MCU with Galactus. We know that they're going to tease Galactus. We know it's going to be kind of like Thanos. Thanos just didn't pop up out of nowhere. They teased him over the course of 10 years. He made his debut technically in Avengers Endgame in the post-credit scene. We then saw him in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then next in Age of Ultron, until we finally saw him in Infinity War and of course Endgame. So we're going to see Galactus a few times, and perhaps one of those few times is going to be him coming to Earth but then vowing to spare Earth, but of course in exchange for a herald, because we also know that the Silver Surfer is coming as well. But of course, much like the comics, he will betray Galactus. The next thing that Mikey has heard is about the Midnight Suns. They live for darkness. The hellish heroes of Midnight Suns have been tossed back and forth between TV and film the past few years in terms of development. Jeff Loeb originally wanted them for Hulu with Ghost Rider and Hellstrom, but that changed when suddenly Blade was greenlit. And now Mikey has heard that the Midnight Suns are being positioned to form in Blade 2, with the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider discussion to cameo in the first movie. And who else will be in the Midnight Suns? You can head over to Lords of the Long Box to discover the lineup. And Mikey will also post it on his website, geekositymag.com. Ever since the president of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, announced Blade at San Diego Comic-Con in 2019, people have been expecting that we could possibly be getting the Midnight Suns. And since then, there have been several reports that we are in fact going to be getting them. And it does in fact look like Marvel Studios could be developing their own MonsterVerse. And we know that Marvel Studios is actually going to have several different teams in the MCU starting in Phase 4. Of course, we're going to have the Avengers, but then we're going to have the X-Men, the Fantastic Four. We're also going to have the Young Avengers, but then Marvel is going to go a different way than they've gone before. They're going to introduce teams that are a little bit darker, and this is going to include the Thunderbolts and the Midnight Suns. Now, with the Midnight Suns, there are possibilities that weren't really possible before, because the Midnight Suns will exist in Marvel's little own MonsterVerse. And there have been some great characters that have been in the Midnight Suns in the comics, and in fact, we already know of some that are in the MCU already. Doctor Strange, of course, is in the Midnight Suns, and then Elsa Bloodstone has been rumored to be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and she's in the Midnight Suns as well. Then, of course, we have Blade, in which case this report says is pretty much going to set up the Midnight Suns, as many people expected, and not to mention Moon Knight has been announced as well. So the team could really be quite fantastic, plus even more characters could be coming to the MCU that we don't know about, and again, you can check out Lords of the Long Box for the rumored lineup. So, as it's been revealed over time, and as we're hearing about now, Marvel actually has quite a bit of different plans for the MCU in their upcoming phases. Instead of being just one team that builds up to ultimately fight against a big bad, there are going to be many different teams, all of which have their own villains to fight, but will ultimately all come together in the end when Marvel does their next Avengers Endgame level event, Secret Wars, in which case Galactus will be there waiting for all of our heroes with some other villains as well. And Marvel is going to treat Galactus much like they treated Thanos, teasing him a few times before actually making his Marvel Cinematic Universe debut as the main big bad villain. But where do you think he'll show up in the meantime, and when do you think Marvel is going to tease him for the very first time? And what do you think about the Silver Surfer betraying him and Frankie Ray becoming his herald? How would you like to see this play out? And also let me know what you think about the Midnight Suns. Let me know all your thoughts about Galactus and the Midnight Suns in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU news and rumors. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.